hereby declare this meeting of the Conshohocken Borough Council duly open and ready to conduct any business that may come before it. Welcome.
Councilmember Tutino.
Present.
Councilmember Griffin.
Here.
Councilmember Sokolowski.
Here.
Councilmember Barton. Just note for the record that she is absent. Councilmember Stokely.
Here.
Vice President Flanagan.
Here.
President Leonard.
Here.
Mayor Aronson.
Here.
Thank you.
Pray for council.
O divine Master, in deep humility we place ourselves, our thoughts, and our plans in thy hands. We beg thee to fill our minds and our wills with the gifts of wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, and piety. Help us not to think of self or personal desires, but rather consider the responsibilities laid upon us. Help us to promote as far as possible the welfare of our people and to treat them with impartiality and justice. Grant us the power to set a good example in thought, word, and deed, so that thy blessings will be showered upon us and the people we represent. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is a public hearing for 144 West 9th Avenue conditional use application, NJB Development LLC, Tom Jones applicant.
Good evening. My name is George Ozorowski. I'm an attorney for Plymouth Meeting representing the applicant. We're here tonight because of the borough's ordinance, which requires structures that are located in the historic residential conservation overlay district that is over 50 years old to seek a conditional use approval before it's condemned or demolished. The subject property is at 144 West 9th Avenue. It's in a BR zoning district. We believe the property was constructed in the early 1900s and occupied by the same family since 1966. To our knowledge, there's no other zoning relief that's been granted to this property. Our position is that the property is in significant disrepair, therefore making it functionally obsolete. And basically, the cost of bringing it up to today's standards would be financially unreasonable given the circumstances. I prepared to you a packet with a lot of exhibits, some of which we're going to go over tonight. But basically what I wanted to do was, there's two requirements under the code, which is 27-1905 C2A, which is the application itself. These exhibits and the application itself is kind of what was handed to the borough staff and for review and their review and approval thereof. So if you look at the actual packet, the first one is Exhibit A1, which is the conditional use application that was submitted. There's a letter attached to that, just changing the name of the applicant. Number two is the present owner of the property. You'll see that it was deeded to Mary Berardi and Teresa Berardi. I believe Mary, the mother of those two passed away, so now just the daughter owns it. The third, Exhibit C, is the public records from the Montgomery County Board of Assessors Office indicating the ownership of the property, along with the assessed value, which is one of the requirements of the application, which is assessed at $122,900. That's assessed value, not market value. A4 is a general description of what we are proposing tonight, which is basically to eliminate or demolish the existing single-family home that is there and make two new single-family homes. A5 is the existing site plan. Our engineer will go over that, along with A6, which is the zoning plan. A7 is the architectural elevations, which again our engineer will review. A8 is some photographs that I recently took of the property. These photographs were just taken a couple days ago by myself. The photographs that we originally submitted with the application I wasn't satisfied with. They were kind of hard to read and see. But these photographs clearly indicate and dictate to you what the conditions of the property, the issues with the property, the various cracks in the property, the foundation issues, and basically the general status of the property on the inside, which you can see probably hasn't been touched for many, many years. A9 is our structural engineer report. Mr. Rosen is here tonight. He will testify to you. A10 and 11 are requirements under the statute, which we provide existing utilities, what's there now. As you can see, they're old. And A11 is basically what's going to happen with the materials once they're demolished. A12 is a timeline for doing all this, which again is a little bit outdated because we got, by my request, I thought we were going to be on the December's hearing date, and we moved it back to January, so everything's kind of off of it a month for that. A13 is a report from the Realtor with their efforts trying to market the property, which is, again, is a condition of the application. A14 is the redacted agreement of sale. And A15 is a petition signed by many of the local residents who are in favor of the application. So with that said, I would call my first witness, which would be Jay Rosen.
Before you do that, I have one additional borough exhibit. It will be Exhibit B3, which is the report of the Borough Planning Commission dated December 13th, 2018. And George, you may proceed.
Okay. And I believe the Planning Commission was in favor or recommended the application. There's no opposition to it. With that, Mr. Rosen, would you take have a seat there?
Sir, state your full name.
My name is Jay Rosen, J-A-Y-R-O-S-E-N.
Sound swear the testimony about the case will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Rosen, where do you work?
I work for SE2 Engineering.
And how long have you worked for them?
SE2 Engineering has been in existence for 5 years. Prior to that, I worked for my father, which was Robert Rosen Associates. I started there in 1983. Okay.
And how long have you been a structural engineer for?
I've been registered since 1991.
And you were licensed in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Yes, sir.
And have you ever testified before judicial or quasi-judicial boards such as zoning hearing boards or board of supervisors?
Many times.
Have you always been accepted as an expert in the area before these boards?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been turned down?
No.
Are you licensed in other states as well?
Yes, sir.
How many?
I believe it's 8 total. As a structural engineer, I'm also licensed as an architect in the state of New Jersey.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to turn to A9 for us, please.
Okay.
And is A9 in fact your CV?
Yes, it is.
Is it true and up to date?
Yes, sir.
Can you just briefly go over your educational experience and your work experience?
I was educated at Drexel University. I started in 1983. I graduated in 1988 with my bachelor's. I got my master's in 1991. During that time, I took my EIT between 88 and 91. Got my PE in 91. As far as work experience, I've designed buildings and structures of all types, apartment houses, synagogues, borough halls, ShopRites, Starbucks, JCPenney's, you pretty much name it, I've designed it.
I would move for the mission of Jay Rosen as an expert in the area of structural engineering.
George, I have no objection. Does anyone on council have any questions for Mr. Rosen? And does anyone on council have an objection to Mr. Rosen's admission as an expert in structural engineering, George?
Correct.
Seeing none, he's so accepted. Thanks, George.
Thank you. At the request of the applicant, did you prepare a report on the property located at 144 West 9th Avenue?
Yes, I did.
Could you look to the second page of A9 for us?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, the third page. It's a letter dated September 18th, 2018, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And who prepared this letter?
I did.
And what was the purpose of the letter?
The purpose of the letter was to do a structural walkthrough and an overall evaluation of the building itself, structurally.
And is it true and accurate?
Yes.
And you signed and stamped it at the end, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And looking at the document, you list 10 different things in there as far as your view of the property. Could you go over each one of those for the board?
Yeah, I mean, I can describe the building as well. Basically, it's a standalone house. It has a lot adjacent to it. It is 3 stories. There is an addition in the front of it. There's an addition in the back of it, which is stucco. The main building is brick. The biggest thing that I saw was the front wall has a significant bulge below the 3rd floor window. There's significant cracking. It's been repointed already once. It's tried to be repaired. It needs to be addressed. I mean, at this point, I would say it's got to be removed and replaced. On the west side, which is down the hill. The wall has also bulged and shifted. There's cracks. You can see that there's a differential settlement there because the bricks have shifted relative to one another, which indicates a foundation issue. And basically, that's significant all the way along the windows of that wall itself has done that. At that point, the stucco band, which is, I guess, similar to the federal style, has also been deteriorating over time. That's been patched and repatched, and you can, sound it or hit it with a hammer, and it'll shatter. You can take it off with your hand. That needs repair, which led me to go within the structure itself. At that point, I went into the basement, and sure enough, the parging is all peeling. It's water stained. It's got damage as well. So there are water issues, whether they're site or sanitary. They're within that. The other thing is going through the building, below the walls of all the windows are leaking, all the sills are rotted, they're cracked. I assume the heads of the windows are rotted as well. And when I looked at the corners at the junctions of the different rooms as well as with the ceiling, there's cracks there as well. So everything has to be addressed. Everything is moving there, and it needs to be addressed and repaired. Beyond that, the roof is leaking. There's water staining on the ceiling of the third floor. So, I mean, in sum, the mechanical needs to be replaced there. The electrical needs to be replaced. We're doing kitchens, bathrooms, roof. It has foundation issues. The wall has to be repaired, which is significant. And, the question is, does the cost of demolition is going to be a more economical choice than it is to try to repair this? And, ultimately to wind up with a better building that's up to date as well, with the modern codes.
So based on your education experience and within a reasonable degree of engineering certainty, do you have a professional opinion as to what should occur with the building as it is today?
I believe it should be demolished.
The next page of A9, there's a letter there. Could you tell us, it's dated October 16th of 2018. Can you tell us what that letter is and why did you prepare it?
Yeah, Tom had forwarded to me his pricing of what he felt the work would be required to repair the building. And basically, I looked it over, and I believe it's reasonable and follows what my recommendations would be.
And what was the cost of the total cost of the repairs?
That I don't remember. His cost of repair was $286,600.
And you found those pricing to be fair and reasonable given the market today?
Yes, sir.
In your opinion, based on your experience and education, would the cost of rehabilitating or readapting the existing building provide a reasonable rate of return based on the reasonable investment that was put into it?
Okay, I don't know what the property was purchased for, but certainly the cost of demolition would be cheaper as compared to repairing it. I mean, basically with a repair, you're bringing the brain surgeons in to fix it. You need someone like me monitoring what's going on, whereas a demo guy, I mean, and I like demo guys, absolutely, they could have the building down relatively quickly.
Did the applicant in any way contribute to the existing conditions of the dwelling?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
In your opinion, is there any potential adaptive reuses of the existing structure in its present condition?
No, I mean, it's strictly residential property. That's its use.
In your opinion, is it feasible to continue in its current use?
No.
And why not?
It's in disrepair. It's structurally inadequate. The walls are falling down. The building's in a state of disrepair. It needs to be severely updated.
That's all the questions I have of this witness, if Borough Council has any.
Thank you. Are there any questions from Borough Council for this witness?
I just have one question.
Please.
So in our comprehensive plan, we really are looking at adaptive reuse, and I think you addressed adaptive reuse on a residential property, and this didn't necessarily, in your opinion, qualify for that. Is there any architectural significance to this building in any way, in your opinion?
It is typical of a Conshohocken standalone house. However, it does have an addition in the front, which is a stucco square addition, which takes away from the character as to what was there. So I really didn't see any architectural value to the building at all.
Okay, thank you.
I've been in the house a few times. It's in bad shape. And being a builder myself, it's structurally, it's pretty structurally unsound. I mean, it's actually one of the bigger lots in town that, that's around in town. What is the lots?
That's my next witness, so I
Okay.
was going to get into that.
Okay, I'll wait.
I know it's big, but I don't want to guess right now.
Any other questions from members of council? George, with that, you may call your next witness,
The
please.
next witness will be Paul Hughes. Thank you, Mr. Rosen.
Thank you.
I ain't touching that thing.
So state your name and swear your destiny.
Paul Hughes, Hughes.
So swear the testimony about the case, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Hi, Paul.
Paul, by whom are you employed?
Kimley Horn and Associates.
And how long have you been a professional engineer?
Professional engineer, registered for 10 years, practicing for 14 years.
Are you licensed in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Yes.
In fact, you have been acted as Borough Council's engineer at some point in time, is that correct?
Yes, I have.
Have you been admitted as an expert in the area of civil engineer before?
Yes, I have.
I would move for admission of Paul Hughes to act as an expert in the area of civil engineering.
Mr. Hughes is certainly known to the borough. Are there any objections from council to Mr. Hughes's qualification as an expert as a civil engineer? Seeing none, he is so accepted. Thank you, George.
Thank you. Mr. Hughes, did the applicant ask you to prepare a plan on the subject property?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to look at A5 of the packet that's in front of you. And first, can you tell us who prepared this plan?
I did.
And when was it prepared or dated?
Date is November 8th, 2018.
And what does this plan depict?
This is the existing conditions plan for the property known as 144 West 9th Avenue.
First, can you go over what are the dimensions of the existing lot?
Sure, the lot is 60 feet wide by 140 feet deep.
And approximately how many square feet is that?
8,400 square feet.
And is there existing parking on the lot?
There's not structural parking on the lot, no.
Is there a pad or anything, or any parking whatsoever?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And what's existing on the lot as it is today?
Single-family dwelling and an accessory structure listed as a shed.
And approximately what size is the existing building, if you can tell us? I know it's hard to read.
It's hard to read. It appears that it's 15.9 feet by 62 feet.
So it's fair to say it's kind of like skinny and long, is that correct?
Long and skinny, sure.
Sure. I'm going to ask you to take a look at actually, check for 1 second. On A5, there's a second page of that document. Can you tell us what that is?
This is an exhibit we prepared to demonstrate where the approximate front yard setback is for the remainder of the structures on the block.
And can you tell us what is the subject property?
Subject property would be the second one in from the left,
Okay.
which would be also the second property in from Maple Street.
And that's also a good area view of the surrounding neighborhood, is that correct?
Yes.
Moving to A6 in the packet, can you take a look at that for me? And what is this?
This is the zoning plan prepared depicting the proposal, which is essentially a proposed subdivision and land development to construct 2 single-family detached dwellings.
Is that thing on here? I just don't.
Just scroll down.
Scroll down? I don't want to mess with it. Oh, gotcha. This is me. There you go. And I'm sorry, was this prepared?
This is dated December 14th, 2018.
And this is actually the second version of the plan that was, the building was moved up to comply with that line in the last exhibit, is that correct?
That's correct. The original exhibit, the front of each home met the ordinance front yard setback, and the new plan is matching the front yards of the other dwellings on the block.
So please review what we were proposing here in this plan.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we're proposing a subdivision. So the 60-foot wide lot is divided into two 30-foot wide lots. Each single-family home is 53.5 feet deep by 20 feet wide, which creates a footprint of 1,070 square feet. That includes a proposed covered porch on the front and a wood deck in the rear. Each house is proposed to have a separate two-car garage, 20 feet by 20 feet, which is a variance request.
So if the board was inclined to grant tonight's conditional use, there would be two areas of relief, is that correct? One for lot width and for the size of the garage, is that correct?
That is correct.
And again, that hearing will be tomorrow night if the board is so inclined to approve us tonight, is that right?
Yes.
How will the parking for the property be handled?
With the aforementioned two-car garages loaded from the alley to the rear.
In your experience, are single-family homes welcome in the Borough of Conshohocken?
Yes, and they're permitted in the BR1 district.
And please describe the existing neighborhood that surrounds the subject property.
Generally, single-family homes and some twins, and a sprinkling of apartments and small commercial uses, but primarily single-family homes and twins.
And in your opinion, does the demolition of the subject property adversely affect the integrity of the neighborhood, neighboring properties, or character of the neighborhood?
No.
Is it feasible to continue the current use of the Is it feasible to continue the current use of the property?
Based on the previous witness's testimony, no.
With the proposed new use of the property, including the two new single-family homes, adversely affect the character or integrity of the neighboring properties or
No.
the neighborhood of the community?
No.
Will the proposed use of the property have sufficient parking to comply with the parking regulations?
Yes.
Would the single-family homes be consistent with the underlying BR1 zoning district?
Yes.
Did the applicant prepare renderings for the houses that they are proposing to build?
The prepared architectural elevations. Yes.
Correct. I want to take a look at A7 of the packet. The packet consists of 4 pages, is that correct?
Yes, there's a front perspective, two side perspectives, and a rear perspective.
And that's what the builder is planning on building, is that correct?
That's correct.
And each house would be identical, it's not going to be like two different houses or anything like that?
That's my understanding, yes.
So the first page is the front elevation showing the front porch, keeping with character of the neighborhood, is that right?
Yes.
The second page then would be a side elevation. The third page is the rear elevation. You said there would be a deck connected to the back of the property, is that right?
Yes.
And then the fourth is the right side elevation, is that right?
Yes.
That's all the questions I have of this witness.
At this time, are there any questions from members of Borough Council?
I have one. What's the setback from the property line for each of the homes?
So the setback by ordinance, I believe, is 25 feet, and then by pulling it up to be even with the rest of the block, it is now 13.6 feet, to the front of the covered porch.
Okay.
And is that measured from where, Paul? Is that?
That is measured from the right-of-way line, so it's probably another 8 feet or so to the back of the sidewalk.
Good. And then in between the two homes and the adjacent properties, what's the setback on the sides?
So the side yard setbacks are 5 feet each, so in other words, 5 feet to the side property lines and then 10 feet between the two new homes. And then just looking at the closest structure towards Forest, it appears that is approximately let's call it maybe 13 or 14 feet from the new structure to the existing house, that direction.
Okay, so you don't need a variance for that. You meet the setback requirements for the sides.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. The 5 feet
that
is
district.
is the minimum side yard.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
And you need a variance for the garages.
We need a
Right,
variance
they're
for
the
the
two
garage
variances.
size to go from 350 square feet
We've
to
been
4.
working on that for a long time to make these garages bigger, so we
Right.
can put 2 cars in them. Hopefully, the people that use them, that buy the homes, use the garage to put their vehicles in there, because that's what we're trying to stress, to get the vehicles off the street. And the homes are going to look like, similar to the ones across the street, Tom?
They're going to look like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The model is 315
Right.
East 10th.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the model.
yep, okay.
It's just a 2 feet more narrow or less wide.
Thank you.
I have a question. The existing pervious versus impervious and what you're proposing, how much are we losing?
Let's see. Well, so that's a good question. So we have, each lot, because they're uniform, has 52.7%. The allowable is 60%. What I don't have, I don't think, is exactly what the current impervious coverage is. This exhibit was laid out to demonstrate compliance with the ordinance, but I don't have the increase.
Okay.
But I could
The reason I ask is, I go back again to the comprehensive plan
Yeah.
and the idea that we are looking at green space, stormwater runoff issues. You're on the west side of town at the bottom of the hill. We know we have existing stormwater issues in Sutcliffe Park and a lot of water going down into there. So I think that we do need to be concerned of how much pervious versus impervious we have at certain parts of our town, and that's why I'm asking the question.
Yep. And this, if we were to receive an approval for the conditional use and then the subsequent approval for zoning, would of course then go through land development, where we would be required to adhere to the stormwater management regulations.
And I would point out now there's no stormwater controls on the property at all. So if anything, you're going to be capturing water where before it just kind of sheet flowed off. Is that fair to say, Paul?
That's fair, but there is much more impervious, as you point out. So it's essentially doubling the impervious coverage, but each lot will need to have its own stormwater management system to make sure that those runoff rates are to at least the pre-existing condition.
And you understand my concern because we're having trouble with what we built in the park already and that design.
Yep.
And as we move forward, we want to make sure that we're addressing that.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from members of council? George, do you have another witness?
No, I don't. I wasn't planning on it. I would move for the omission of my exhibits. Open to any other questions that you might have. I know you have a full agenda tonight, so I don't want to take up too much of your
I
time.
have one question.
Sure.
I just wonder, I understand that the 2 lots and the 2 singles. I was just wondering if at any time Mr. Jones had ever considered just building 1 home on that property,
Yeah,
and what the reasoning would be.
it's the economic feasibility. By the time you do the demolition and you do all the work that needs to be done with the property, just financially, I don't think it would work. I don't want to speak to Tom, but that's basically what I'm
George,
understanding.
if you'd like Tom to say anything, he just needs to be sworn in.
Tom, do you want to say anything? Yeah.
Why don't you put that testimony on?
Yeah, I am. Can you just get sworn in?
State full name, swear this in.
Tom Jones, J-O-N-E-S.
Son, swear to testimony about the case with the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Tom, so the question is, why don't you just build a single? And I try to summarize an answer, but you should probably hear it from yourself in your own words.
Yeah, it's too expensive. I'm paying too much for it, for the house itself now. If I can't rip it down and build a new one, there's no way. It's just not worth it.
Well, that's what I'm asking. If you ripped it down and built 1 large single home, you don't think that you would make money on that?
No, I can't, not for what I'm paying, no.
because it's being sold as a home. So if you tear down the home, then you don't have the home anymore. So now you have to build another home. So it becomes very cost-effective to try to do that. And it's not cost-effective to try to rehabilitate what's there either. So you're kind of stuck between this land of not really being able to do either way effectively.
Okay, thank you.
With that, is there anyone from the public that is here tonight that would like to speak in favor and/or against this application? And seeing none, George, I think at this time, council probably knows all the issues. We did just write this ordinance and just pass it, so I don't think we need a summation unless council would like George to provide a summary. With that, it would be appropriate at this time for council to take a vote on this application. My only comment would be that if council chooses to approve the application, that it be made subject to the exhibits as presented at this hearing, the representations made at this hearing, and the notice of decision that would be issued would include the requirement that it be made subject to those representations and exhibits, including exhibits A6 and A7, which are the proposed zoning plan and the elevations. And George, I assume your client has no objection to that?
No objection.
Okay. With that, if council is so inclined, a motion would be appropriate to grant or deny this application.
I'll
would
make
make-
that motion.
oh.
Second.
And to be clear, Bob, it is a motion to grant the application with the condition that I stated, that it be conditioned on the representations made at this hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, George.
Thank
And with that, we'll excuse our court reporter. George, there is one other issue. Generally speaking, council considers the zoning applications as well. I don't think that we did that for your application. Chris, did you want council to consider this one? It's up to you.
You probably should consider whether or not you support the application. I think by approving the petition,
Right.
you realize what the
Oh,
zoning
you don't have to
issues
take, you don't have to take this down. Yeah, you're good. Sorry, Chris.
are. The variances are 30-foot lot
Totally
widths,
separate
which is rather de minimis. and,
You're good, man.
also
You're good.
100
You're good.
for a 400 square foot garage. You can support that,
Thank you anyway.
not support it, or take no position, or you can let stand your decision that you approve the demolition of the house and you are aware of what the issues are for the zoning hearing board.
So if you are inclined, it would be a letter of recommendation to the zoning hearing board. You'd make that motion for the applicant. Specifically, are we talking, Chris, for the variance of the lot width?
Variances.
Variance for lot
Two
width
lot
and
width.
variance for the size of an accessory structure.
Okay.
Okay. I would
Good.
make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
And is that hearing tomorrow night?
That is.
Well, then I guess I'm writing a letter tonight for you, George. Thanks. Or tomorrow morning, yeah.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a hearing regarding a waiver of off-street parking for 515 Fayette Street for Extra 101.
Ms. Stetler?
Thank you. 515 Fayette Street has a number of uses in it. It has most recently been the location of a women's clothing and accessory store named Obvi. In late 1918, the ownership of the business only changed. So, however, it is still a women's clothing and accessory business. It is a retail business in the business commercial district, which is permitted. The owner of Obvi received a similar waiver of off-street parking, and so this really isn't any change. It's just because there is a change of business requires a reexamination of the off-street parking. And Barbara is here, and she can explain the business to you and tell you a little more about what's happening there.
Hi.
First of all, I want to say thank you for giving us special permission to open in December. That was really fabulous, and we had a great first month of being open, so thank you for that.
So we can't say no now.
That's right. Yeah, we already got it rolling. Like Chris had said, the previous tenant basically had the same type of business. What I have replaced and put into there is women's accessories and also clothing, and I encourage all the ladies here to stop by at any time. So the footprint is going to be basically the same. I don't anticipate any increase or decrease in the amount of parking that would be coming or going. We do have 2 private spots for parking in the back that will primarily be used for the employees of the who will be working at the premise, so the employees won't be taking up any parking. We're planning on being open 5 days a week, Wednesdays through Sundays, and mostly daytime hours. We expect a large part of our customer base to be from the borough, so with the little bit of information and data that I've been able to collect with addresses and emails, I am seeing about 80% of the customers are right within the borough, so that is also a very good thing for us. We also believe a lot in helping the community and being part of the community, so that, again, is a plus. The other thing that I was at a meeting earlier a couple months ago when somebody else was discussing parking, and it came up about thinking outside of the box. So I tried to think of an idea for us, even though we are very small and not as large as this other business was going to be. But I was hoping that maybe we could work with some of the other businesses that are either on our block or within the borough, so that when a person does come to park, that, for example, they could get their hair done, shop with us, go out to lunch, so that it's one person using just that one space to, go to many different businesses, and, that also helps the community. So I hope that helps a little bit. And I guess basically that's everything that I had written down, so I just want to say thank you for considering making the waiver.
Thank you. That's a great idea, by the way.
Were the other businesses engaged when have you gone to them or
I
anything
have
at
gone
this
into them. There's a hairdresser right next door to me. They're fabulous. We have actually been sending customers back and forth. In fact, one of the girls who helps me in my store, got her hair done there. So, and they have sent some of their customers to us. There's also 2 restaurants, Brunch and the Grill.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I've worked more with the brunch people than the grill people, but again, there is some collaboration starting to, get it moving. So
Great.
we've only been there a month. I have a lot of ideas. It's just hard to get them all up in the air at one time.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So at this time, if council is inclined, you would make a motion regarding the waiver of off-street parking for 515 Fayette Street.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
You're all set.
Good luck.
Yes,
Thank you.
good luck.
Yes. I was in the store. It's very nice. Mr. Bridenstine?
Just for the record, Mr. Bridenstine is interviewing for the vacancy that is on the vacancy board.
Good evening.
Good evening. So, Matt, why would you like to serve as a member of the vacancy board, or the only member of the vacancy board?
Well, I'm pretty passionate about the borough. I'm on the AC, chair of the AC, and I think that if there was a rare instance that I would you would ever have to appoint me to serve on council, I think I can bring the same energy, the same passion that I bring in the AC to the borough council. Also, I've worked with many of you before, whether it's EAC or when I was president of Rotary and working with the administration on Beer Festival. I think I have a pretty good working relationship with most of you, and I think that, again, if you would ever have to appoint me, that we could work together. And I like public policy. I'm kind of a nerd with that.
You like public policy?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, I do.
And we don't have to ask what is your issue that you would be most concerned about.
Right.
In the borough, we know that already, so.
And you know, Matt, it's a non-partisan position.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
7:38.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Do you have anything to add, Matt?
I'm sorry?
Anything to add?
No, I guess I'll see you guys pretty soon with our annual report for the AC, which I'm really excited
Okay.
to present with that, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming in, Matt.
At this time, if council is inclined, you could make a motion to appoint Matthew Bridenstine to the vacancy board as of January 16th, 2019.
I'll make that
So
motion.
he's our only applicant?
He's the only applicant that we've received to date, yes.
Okay. How long
And this is replacing Mr. Collins.
for
And it's a
This is-
year.
20 years, I think,
Yes.
he's on that board.
Since December, Bob, we've been advertising.
Okay.
And statutorily, you need somebody on this board, so.
Yeah, I understand,
Right.
I understand, I understand the position.
Yeah.
Okay. I will make that motion.
I made the motion already.
Oh, well then I will second it. Let's do it all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Matt.
Yep.
Thank you very much for your service. The next item on the agenda is to approve and adopt the December 5th and December 19 meeting minutes, and approve the December ending treasurer's report and accounts payable.
And for the minutes, I just need to note that the accounts payable is in the amount of $575,746.95. If we can get one motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve both A and B on the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Under new business, the first item is consider appointing the borough manager as chief administrator officer for the borough pension plans.
Can we do these individually, so?
Yeah, we'll do each one individually. So for item A, I'd just like to note that we've recently had the Auditor General's office in, and they've audited all of our pension plans. It was an exhaustive process that was spearheaded by Angela Orr, so a big thank you for pulling together an amount of documents that it was exhausting, but she did a great job.
Thank you, Angela.
We've received no findings on those audits. The only thing we did have to do was switch the designation of the chief administrative officer from the previous borough manager to the recent. So if inclined, we would need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is for Officer Eric Hall, and this is a CBA item. You would be authorizing tuition reimbursement that is budgeted for.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is to consider 3 Caldwell Lane financial security release in the amount of $98,011.50. There is a letter in your meeting minutes from Karen McNair, the borough's engineer, who is supporting this release. This is a request that's coming from the developer, and she's done a site evaluation and is recommending the release of this amount. So inclined, I would need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is to consider the Sora West demolition escrow release in the amount of $436,205. Again, there is a recommendation in your meeting materials from Ms. McNair to specify this specific agenda item. The release is for the demolition agreement and the demolition escrow. On the other end, we've increased the site escrow for the amount that is remaining. So there is the site escrow that is tied to the land development agreement that is increasing. We've received the notification that the letter of credit has been finalized with the bank, and we have it in our possession. Signatures were processed yesterday. So tonight you are releasing demo. But on the other end, your site escrow is increasing.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
So demolition,
is just knocking the building down. It's not taking away all of what's there?
There's that portion of the demo is included in the site escrow. So all of the demo that we're releasing right now was basically pertinent to the parking garage coming down. Ms. McNair went out on site, and any of the items on that demolition that needed to be included in the site escrow that were not satisfied are included.
Okay.
But once you release the amount for the parking garage, and then you've released the portion of the buildings that were also demoed on the site escrow, it comes out to a $9,000 difference that was increased.
And we think we're covered in the event that anything would happen by the next escrow? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll make the motion.
So I'll be recusing myself.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And please note Mr. Stokely's recusal.
Already signed and sealed.
The next item I will turn over to Mayor Aronson, which is to consider approving the 2019 Annual Arts Festival and Car Show. Mayor, if you can just briefly walk through the specifics of the event.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. So we, due to a shorter time constraint, had to pull back a little bit of the scale of the car show last year. We had an arts festival around Marywood Park, and it was a great learning opportunity, and it allowed us to put a lot of infrastructure in place as far as my team and working with our administration and Public Works and the police and the fire police. But this year we are back up to full speed. If you look at your proposal in front of you, you'll see my team is constructed from new residents to lifetime residents, so we think we have a pretty good cross-section of residents that are helping to pull this together. One thing that is a passion of mine, I have 2 film degrees, so I really want to continue to bring arts programming into the borough. So under the banner of an arts fest, we are including a car show because they really are works of art. So we're kind of trying to, one of the lessons from last year is we wanted to combine art and the cars. We wanted to have them intermix a little bit, have artists with the car owners. So the plan for this year is to have the cars back on Fayette, but they will be primarily on the west side, and then arts vendors will be on the east side of Fayette. And then on East 5th Avenue, it will be, just like last year, it'll be all arts and art programming, hopefully in the Marywood Park House with the Art League. We'll have bands in the same place. And then we have a couple built-in areas for overflow of cars. So we'd actually be expanding the footprint of the former car show to go all the way to 3rd Avenue, and that would just be cars until 5th. And then the registration area from 9th to 11th can also be used for overflow of cars. And that's only because we're only using half of Fayette for cars. Right. So, we've been working with administration on this. We think we have a pretty good plan in place. Really, the onus is on our team to now go and fill the street with vendors and cars and provide a really fun day for the community. So that is the general map, and if you look in your upload, the same map is there. And if you do you have the save the date? That is our working save the date. And new this year is my team started a nonprofit called Destination Conshohocken. So the nonprofit will be handling all the payment processing. We're doing everything on our end, online registration. So a big leap from last year. So we hope things will be even smoother than a year ago. Any questions?
So I would need a motion to approve the 2019 Arts Festival and Car Show.
I would make that motion.
And I'll have to second it. It sounds like a pretty good plan to me.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mayor Aronson.
The last item on the agenda is a discussion item. I'm going to introduce it, and then I will turn it over to Mr. Stokely. Part of the infrastructure plan that Gilmore and Karen created last year addressed Second Avenue briefly. So I'm talking about Second Avenue where the monument is, that has the grade. It's very, Karen, steep, thank you.
Good word.
Wow. Thank you for making me look bad. Appreciate it. Karen is here as well in case she needs to jump in. But the idea being that because of the steepness and because of the overall infrastructure plan and needs in the borough, Second Avenue in particular is going to be a topic of conversation that we as an administration as well as council need to address and start looking at. It's not cost feasible to really include it in the infrastructure plan at this point, so we're looking at it potentially out of the box in some other different way. We are going to potentially bring it to the parking task force once that is formed. The candidates for that task force will be in front of council in February for interviews. If we can utilize it for some sort of parking or some sort of pocket park. But I guess my initial question to council tonight, and Bob, you can jump in, is if you're looking at Second Avenue and the way it's currently not really utilized as a road specifically, does anything jump out at you that you'd like administration to start looking at or look into more depth for a potential use for that space?
Parking.
Yes.
Okay.
I think parking would be our priority.
And I think the combination might also work there for the pocket park and parking, because it is so steep and separated on both sides. So I think it may be possible to do both, yes.
Yes.
So
And wide.
my question would be, if it is too steep for travel,
Yep.
why is it okay for parking?
I don't know, Karen,
With the-
Karen, you want to jump in at all? Thanks. Yes, she's on.
So part of the problem is when you're coming down Second Avenue to Fayette Street, people will bottom out. So if you could somehow create traffic that would only be going uphill, you won't have people with that same problem, is the idea. Or we could perhaps, kind of feather it in with some asphalt, because right now you have the paver blocks, and a lot of the paver blocks are popping out, and the concrete is also failing. So if you could remove that and put in a different material that will fare better, and if you're not having people come downhill, which creates shoving of the material a lot, and you're just having people go uphill, you won't have as much of a problem there. So I think if we could potentially reverse traffic and have just people go up the hill, you might have a better situation there as well.
So it would be a one-way and maybe angled.
Right,
Angled parking.
yeah, angled parking would be an option there.
So Karen, there's also the possibility that you could close that bottom off and the top off and put parking at the top and the bottom with the middle as park?
That is a potential. We'd have to look further into access and who might take access from there. I don't think there's any vehicular access, but we'd have to make sure there wouldn't be anybody that would be loading or unloading from that roadway or taking pedestrian access we might be blocking otherwise.
Okay,
So this is something we're just exploring.
Right.
This is not something that,
right, it's a discussion.
this is, like, people are saying, George said it, the lady in the audience said it, we're trying to think out of the box for this parking, because people are reaching out to us every day. And, I mean, this is something we really need to do. So, we're looking at that area. So I think it'll be.
So just for our purposes, as we continue to look and explore and think innovatively in terms of, are you okay with administration looking at that portion as potential parking, park?
Yes.
Us going in that direction you're okay with it? Okay.
Because it's underutilized now. Makes sense.
Does anyone else have any questions at the moment?
Thank you. And thanks, Karen.
Thanks.
I'll be saying the word steep now for the next couple days.
Everything's steep in Conshohocken.
That's true.
You ever walk up that, did you ever walk up that hill?
Yes.
It's tough, that's good
It's
exercise.
a workout.
You almost got to roll down it when you're walking down.
Well, sled down it this weekend.
Oh, did you?
No, this coming weekend.
This weekend you can, yeah. If the storm goes the right way.
Right?
Someone had public comment.
I have two parking issues.
Okay, if you could, please, for the record, state your name and address.
Tina Friend, 144 East 8th Avenue.
Thank you.
I'm trying to find out if the dry cleaners on the 100 block, if the 3 spots they were given are permanent.
This is just.
Because I keep getting 2 different answers.
This is just a 90-day trial,
Okay,
and there's only supposed to be 2 spaces.
there's 3, but can,
So we'll address that.
okay, on the 100 block, which is permit parking, they
Right.
took, where the lines are, they took away 2 spots.
Only
So-
supposed to be 1.
But where the lines are from where we park, it took away 2 spots.
We'll have our,
On the side, it took away 4 spots.
oh, I don't,
Okay, I've been dealing with health issues and have been home for the last 8 months. There is never, ever 3 people going into that dry cleaners. They might have 20 customers a day that go in there. There's no need for 3 parking spots.
well, just.
They have been there for over 20 years, not this owner.
It's a different-
There has never, ever been a problem with anyone, any of the block, any of the people. She has screamed. She has written notes and put notes on cars. My husband brought me home from chemo. She would come out and scream, "Get out of my parking spot." Who does that? That's one whole thing. And then the renters on the 100 block with the parking that do not have parking stickers.
And we're addressing
It's
that.
never, ever, they come and they get tickets maybe 3-4 times a year. The guy drives up the street, doesn't get out of his car. Some of the houses, 146, there's at least 10 people that
I
live
have
there.
a list of them. We-
141, there's at least 8. 147, I stopped at that. There's at least 8 people that live in the houses. So when their boyfriends and their girlfriends or whatever their friends come, you could park 3 blocks away. You're not even parking anywhere near your home
Is this during the week and the weekends, or just the weekend?
all the time.
All the time.
And when my husband calls, he calls the borough, they say call the police. When he calls the police, they say call the borough. So no one is helping.
Well, we are addressing it, the
Well,
chief.
I will just address some of your concerns.
Okay.
There was a resolution that was passed for temporary parking. So yes, you're correct. It is temporary. That is,
Okay.
you can check that off your list.
I was
'cause it's-
told that it was permanent and I was told it was temporary.
Right.
So
It's temporary for a 90-day evaluation period. So there's 60 days where we'll be evaluating the usage of the 2 parking spots, and I'll explain that in a second. And then there's 30 days where if they were going to implement some sort of permanent parking, there would be an advertising period. So 90 days total. But
Okay.
yes, it's temporary for the time being, and it's just per resolution, not by ordinance.
Okay. Why was there 2 on the side, which
So it
is,
sounds...
and there's 1 in the front that's on the permits?
Understood. So the way the resolution was written is there was 2 spaces, and one was on one side of the property and the other was on
One
the
on
other.
Nathan, one on-
It sounds to me, and we'll have staff go out and evaluate it. We appreciate you bringing it to our attention, but it sounds to me like you lost 2 spaces because of the way the lines were painted. But if it's a handicap spot, it takes up more space. So yes, it would have been a loss of 2 for you, but it would have only been 1 spot that would have been put in per that resolution. But I will have a staff member go out and evaluate it, and we'll figure out the issue between the 3 and the 2.
The biggest thing is, why should they be allowed to have a parking spot on the permit parking where we already have a problem?
Right, so then I'll address the rental issue. So I understand that there's numerous people that come with a rental, but those rentals are all licensed rentals. I actually pulled the list this week.
Allowed to
ensure-
have 10 people that live in a house? Right.
Are they different apartments? Is that why there's 10 people in a building?
The house that's connected to ours, it's exactly like ours. So there's 5 bedrooms and 1 bathroom.
So you're on the same side as cleaners, or
I'm on the same side as the dry
the
cleaners.
dry cleaner?
I'm the person she had the problem with.
Okay.
She asked me to move my car.
You have a rental next to you?
Yes, the house connected to ours. There's at least 10 men that live there.
Okay. 10?
10. They have brought wood in and built beds with wood, and they sleep on makeshift beds.
Is that a code
We
violation?
gotta get our code, yeah, it's a code violation.
That's a code violation, too many people in a residence.
Ray's not here tonight, right?
We need to be careful designating living situations that are a preference of some individuals as a code violation, because you could have certain individuals wanting to live in a certain means, and if it's, you can't evaluate it based off of an individual's choice. So I have the list of rentals. I understand that it's a concern. We do a rental inspection over the course of a 2-year period. So those properties will be evaluated and inspected, and if there's an issue based off of code and based off of borough policy, it will be enforced. So it's been brought to our attention. We hear you. I appreciate you coming here tonight. I don't have an answer for your concerns regarding rentals, and I think that Chief Metz has some information that might help in terms of the actual permitting and from a parking enforcement perspective, which he'll share now.
Hi, Tina. The parking regulations down there, that Zone 5, 2-hour parking, was born out of the commercial property at the end of the street that got very busy and produced a lot of people, people parking on the street that were working in those buildings. So it was kind of a daytime issue, right? Like when that business was open, these people were parking on the
still
street
park there.
and vacating. Okay, they may, but they also park in their parking lots that they have.
Which they added a few.
It does get enforced. We look at it as a daytime issue, not for the residents who live there that are parking there, but as a daytime issue that are the residents being inconvenienced by the commercial property and their traffic. So we do enforce it. And there are parking permits issued for that block. There's 74 of them. And there was 34 overall tickets issued on that block last year. 26 of them were for parking permit violating the 2-hour parking. I don't go out and enforce the parking violations there, but we have people that do. And I talked to one of them the other day. The guy that goes out there every day and looks at it. And I asked him about these numbers, because if you go to the 100 block of Fed Street, there's a lot more than 26 tickets issued a year down there for parking violations. But it doesn't mean it's being ignored. It is being addressed. And I asked him about it, and he assures me that he hits it every day. And when there is a violation, he writes it. And that's a 2-hour thing. That means you got to mark it, leave, and come back. And when he finds violations, he issues a ticket. He said, for the most part, there's compliance down there. That's the lack of tickets that you're saying, that we see. It doesn't mean that there aren't violations down there. I'm not here to try and discredit you. I'm just telling you what we do on a regular basis. And I'm confident that it is being done. So, and if you ever call the police department and someone tells you to call the borough when you have a problem with a legitimate complaint, you call me and I'll take care of that problem.
My husband has called at least 5 times
I'm
about
not aware of
parking.
that. If you call the police for a complaint, we are obligated, and that is our duty, and it really is, our honor to come out and take care of. That's what we're here for. Okay. And if someone here tells you that they're not going to help you, you call. I know Tanya. I was on the phone with her the other day. Pick up the phone and call me, and I'll take care of that problem, because you shouldn't be told that.
The guy the older gentleman that does the parking, that goes up and down the street,
Yes.
he has told me personally that he was told not to give the renters that didn't have parking permits, not to give them tickets, because they were tired of returning, like, if they go to the police station and say, I got a ticket, he was told not to give them tickets any longer.
I'll tell you what, would you sit down with me and
Yep.
him, and we'll straighten that out?
Yep.
Because that's not my policy. That's not what I'm representing.
I've personally seen him
okay.
twice today go up
And-
the street and not even get out of his car.
Well, he may just, just because he's not getting out of the car doesn't mean he's not.
There's 5
I
cars
rode
right
down
in
the other
front
day,
of him.
there was a ticket on the car right in this zone that we're talking about, right in front of this, somebody was parked in front of this, this cleaner in that zone, and there was a ticket on the car. So I know he was down there, and I don't want to argue with you.
I do, I think.
I'm on your side.
I'm not trying to
If
argue
we-
with him. I'm so frustrated
But
with this.
listen,
I think you should take Chief Metz up on his offer.
definitely
I think I think it will put you in face-to-face with the individual who you feel is not doing their job. He's offered to give you that opportunity. And it'll give you either peace of mind or it will get you a resolution.
He came down, not last night, the night before. He gave one car a ticket. There was other cars there that didn't get tickets that were parked the same. I have all the time in the world to be watching out the parking right now. He gave one car a ticket. Last night, that same exact car parked out front that got the ticket.
what time was this? When you said at
I
night?
came home at 7, I came home at 6 o'clock. It was maybe 10 after 6. He was giving the car a ticket. So he had come 2 hours before that.
And listen, like I said, I've known you forever.
I know.
Pick up the phone and call me if you have a problem. The first I become aware of this is here at this public meeting, and I don't want, this is not the image that we want to display. We are reactive. So pick up the phone and call me, and we'll have a conversation. And if these things are being done, I'll take care of it. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for coming
Thank you
out.
for coming out.
Anyone else for public comment this evening? Okay. Mayor Aronson?
Okay. Before taking this position, I was the head track coach at my high school. So I would have to get certified in CPR every 2 years. So I was speaking with Officer Vallone at an event, and we got to talking about how awesome it would be to bring a CPR class to the community. So that's what we're doing. So on March 23rd at the Brewing Company, we're going to offer a free hands-only CPR class. So this will not involve any of the breathing mouth-to-mouth stuff, just hands and compressions. Officer Vallone was able to get Einstein Medical personnel to come and do the class. Our police force has paid for our materials, so it will be absolutely no charge to anyone in the community. And I know it's a little odd, but the Brewing Company has offered anyone over 21 a free 6-ounce beer pour that participates. So
Nice.
Well, it'll be after.
6 ounce.
Yeah, one of the little guys. Yeah. So we're inviting all of you out, we're inviting the community out, and we will certainly put this all over our social media in the next few weeks.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Stokely?
Yeah, I just want to compliment the achievements of Conshohocken Elementary. It was in the bulletin with all their achievement down there. It's pretty impressive. I just wanted to congratulate them. And also, I received this in the mail with the Fellowship House. The flyer, that's great that we're advertising to get people in there. That's a good thing. Some people need this. Okay? That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
I don't have anything.
I would just like to thank Chief Metz for including council in the celebration of the Policeman Beard Contest. We did have a great time judging their beards and getting to know the police officers. It was really a fun night. We all sincerely appreciate it.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
But you didn't have one on, right?
Because you can't,
Perfection, right?
Yes.
Well, this month, we've had 4 marketing meetings for the Marywood Park Centennial Project, and things are progressing very nicely. We're almost ready with our first fundraising materials, so I'll keep you posted on that.
I would just like to say that we're in the process of forming a parking task force. We've made some announcements. We're looking for representation from businesses, from those that have experience, and in fact, the woman that was here earlier, we welcome ideas from everyone. We have until Friday that we're accepting applications. So if there are any other residents or any, representative of any other group, please, by all means. And if you do not apply and you're not interested in actually being on the task force, the meetings are open to the public, and your comments are certainly welcome. That's all I have. Thank you.
thank you. Chief Metz?
I just, now the holiday season is over, I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank our officers and the Police Association for all the goodwill that they do every year. And there's, everybody chips in, but John Storty is one of our officers. You probably all know him. And he's kind of spearheaded these things, and he has been for years. And, all the giveaways and the collection points and all that stuff, he and his family spearheads a lot of that. So I thank him and all of them personally.
Thank you.
And publicly.
Meeting adjourned.
Hey.